Danie, it's so good to have you guys. We're really privileged to start our day off with Danie Nel. He's one of the global coaches for Entrepreneur Organization. He teaches accelerator groups all over the world. And he's really spent the last almost 25 years on growing his own group called Nebula, with a lot of different exciting companies within that group, into an absolute powerhouse. And listening to him speak at some of the coaching sessions previously has really opened my eyes in terms of how to run our company. So I think we're in exceptional hands, Danie. We're so excited to hear you kind of to share your journey with us, to kick us off on this this great day of learning about scaling up. The floor is all yours.
Thank you. Let me just see my screen here. Yeah, thank you, Lo. It's always interesting just reflecting back on where you started and where you are right now. So I'm just going to take you quickly on a journey, some of my thinking about this, and Lo's covering those 4 areas with you, but I've just combined just a couple of thoughts from my side for everybody. So I'm going to go into presentation mode. So let me just do that, and that everybody can see that. Lo, are you okay with this? Is that good like this?
That's perfect. Thank you, Danie.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So scaling up for me is that always think about what picture comes to mind, and the interesting part was if you give somebody your objective and you can do that goal that you've got on your own, then you don't thinking big enough. So one of the key fundamental things for me I've taken away is that you always have to have something bigger than what you can do on your own. And so just quickly about my story from my side. I've also got the scars. I crashed my first business in 1990. The interesting part about that was when you finish your MBA, you think you're so smart, and you're actually a complete twit. You don't know anything about what you're doing. So my apologies if I offend anybody that's done an MBA. I've done one, but I actually feel it's sometimes so overrated. So that was a big course for me. So that was a fundamental piece that actually changed the way I think about business, is what happened with me. So in 1990, we were 4 people that started the company. We only know how to write business plans. We don't know how to run business. So we wrote the business plan and we got money. And we started the business. And after 6 months, we had to close it because we knew nothing. And for 4 years in my life, I had to go with my payslip every month to this company where we borrowed money to ask them not to take my car, not to take my house. I went through that process of feeling not like a human. And that has changed a lot of my thinking around cash and how I run businesses today. And I'm so glad it happened with me. And now I can really share the fruits of that. So my businesses at the moment, I've founded 6 businesses. It's 85 people and it's growing at the moment. So we're busy employing more people. It's limited to 50, and I'll share with you now the story around the 100 to 50. The oldest business is 23 years old. We still self-funded. We don't have debt. We don't even have an overdraft. So how did we do that? We actually come up with something called the 15 levers, or how we create growth and scaling in your business with it. And this is a well-oiled machine now, and we know how we switch it on and off, and how we drive it. So recently also we've opened our companies in the US, USA, UK, and West Europe, and we're on a big drive of scaling our business now outside South Africa on a global front on the back of Microsoft. So there's the companies that we've got. So Nebula is the biggest one, and you must have seen some of these companies before. So the question always when you talk about somebody's story is, what is your story? So sometimes when I saw this picture, I think it's always a flow that is happening. And there's some greenery, and there's some dark areas, and there's some not so green areas. But each one of us has got a story to tell. And I want to take you back to my story, is the foundation. What was the foundation? There's always something that you need to start with before you can scale. And I always believe if you have a strong foundation, the things that you put on top of that will make you strong. But how strong is that foundation? So I love this picture I'm sharing with you guys today about the foundation of a tree trunk, how that has grown and with the roots in that. So the part I want to share with you are these couple of points, and I call it foundation one. So it actually starts with you as the person. Who are you? Are you a solid person? What is your thinking of your foundation as a person? Because that is where you are. You are brick number one in the foundation. The second point for me here is a very key point that I just would like to, and in my belief and in my experience, has been fundamental. That is that you have to have a higher purpose in life than making money. And that is also fundamentally important in running a company, is that there must be a higher purpose than making money. Because you can find much easier ways of making money. Yeah. So higher purpose of making money. And that ties a lot to this book that I wrote there in the bottom for you, Visionary Business. So this is a very, very interesting book. So that was the book I actually read before I started reading Scaling Up from Vern Harnish. So we recommend for you to maybe just to read through that. He came up with 25 points, which is really fundamental. And that was one of the points I took away from that, is having a higher purpose than making money. The third one for me is also coming back to what is your guiding principles for you, how you run businesses. So like a mantra. For me, one of my guiding principles always, I'll start the business. I try to avoid partners in the beginning. So I will start the business, I get it going, and then I bring in partners. And then also guiding principle, what is your monetary value? Do you give sweat equity or so one of the things with that is it's so important. In my world, I put the principle there is that we'll pay money. Even if you pay R1 or $1, it's to get the mechanism in place of it's a fair exchange for what it means, because you can't argue with it. And then, as I mentioned to you, is that you are brick number one in a foundation. You must be focused. You must know where you're going. You must be a good leader. You must have principles. You must have strong values, how you will run your business. Now, that has been my hallmark over this 23, 24 years of my life. And because eventually, as brick number one, it's you are the culture of the business, and that makes sure it can take punctures. The second part for me was in terms of scaling business is the following one, is that scaling equals people. So a lot of people think about scaling equals cash. Yes, that's also true. But the fundamental piece is that you can't scale a business without people. But you can also have to make sure that you have the right model how to do this, because as a person, you as one person can only do X. So to get an X factor, you use technology, people, but there's always a people component to that. The second fundamental part is that the growth of the business doesn't really equal sales. It actually equals growing leaders. How do you grow the people in your business so that they can grow sales for you, so that they can make your world feel better and motivate and give you their time and capability? I know Eileen will talk to you more about people side, but that's the fundamental part with this. So I want to share this quote with you as well. And that's resonated with me yesterday morning when I read through this again. It says, your title makes you a manager. Your people make you a leader. So that is why in my world and my experience is that the foundation, you brick number one, because that will make sure how strong it is for all the things you're going to build on top of that. So just in my world, in terms of scaling best practice, a couple of pointers to share with you here. In my world was, and the team that I've dealt with on the training side. Now I always talk about triangle. So I want to start with a triangle with you today as well. So always think about scaling your business after you're looking at the people side. Is this triangle? You have to have growth and you have to have profit. You see the bottom? That generates cash. Without the perfect triangle or a small triangle going to a big triangle, you're not going to scale your business. So that's fundamentally so important. Then you must also know exactly why. What is the purpose of the business? So I started off to say, you start with yourself. You must have a higher purpose than making money. This is similar to in a business. You need to bring this back into this as well, that you need to have a higher purpose than doing that. What in the world are you going to change? Because when things go tough, like COVID, you must still be able to focus on that. We talk sometimes about a BHAG, your big, hairy, audacious goal. That is something that when somebody sees that, they must go, oh, they must lose their breath. And that has been one of our big hallmarks. That is the way we hire people. When people see how attractive that is, and it comes to join you. I'll talk about that just now. Then vision. Vision keeps on changing. So vision is not just something that's always stationary, but you have a vision to say, I want to be like this. And you're welcome to change again, but it's so important to have that, and that normally ties back into your BHAG as well. Then the fourth point there is, what is your engine? How's the engine going to work if you're going to make money? Are you going to, it's very important really to think about that you have kind of different revenue streams, how you make it up. The key drive for us in our business, we started off many years ago by selling time. So one person's got 100 hours a month that you can sell, and that is the capacity you have. You need to think about how do you actually calculate that. So for us, we had 5 people in the business. Then we said, oh my goodness, well, now 5 people, 10 people. We need to have a recipe how to bake this cake, because each one might bake a different cake. We have to make quality. So we come up with a recipe, and that recipe became our methodology. And then we said, oh my goodness, we need to rethink about this recipe. We need to automate some of these recipes now. And then we start building this a bit in an online fashion. And this is how we built where we are right now today. Today we're fully flat SaaS business. We've become a tech business of really starting off by just selling hours to be a fully tech business now that can run anywhere in the world. But it took time. It took 23 years. It took 23 years of really thinking and never give up, and the people focus of that makes a difference for you. So here's our BHAG. So this is what we're aiming for, is to be a $1 billion self-funded business, complementary business that's co-invented, co-created by 150 co-owners. Now this has become my biggest draw card to hire new people, because my staff has each one got a number in the business. You're number 1. I'm number 1. So I can't give that away. So we always say when we hire somebody, you're number 85. When somebody leaves, you'll move up the chain. So that's always for us a big hiring thing. But let me tell you another story here. 150. Anybody know the story about 150? There's the Dunbar number for the Professor Dunbar from Oxford University that done some research here that you can have only 150 meaningful relationships. And that's why I put the number there to say, right, I want to do the impossible, but the closeness of the people is about 150. And I linked that to the Dunbar number. And you can also see there that we talk about self-funded. We want to see that we can actually scale the business as what we've done now on a global front through a self-funded model. So this is the part that keeps us excited and focused. So just to repeat again for you here, is that this gives us that part where you go, oh, this is exciting. So when we talk and bring somebody new in a business, when they see this, oh, they want to be part of this. Some more stuff for you to share. So one of the key parts in scaling your business is that really think about that you need to have a good growth hurdle rate. If you only grow at 5%, your business is dead. If you grow at 8% to 10%, you're sort of okay-ish, not 100%. But to be a proper business, you need to grow at a minimum of 20% per year. Not growing too fast, but solid, consistent growth like the 20-mile march. But it's also important for you to forward think about your business, how you want to scale this. And that's what I call the inflection points. So something I was sometimes ignored previously, but the inflection points are when you have to make a jump to the next level. So you can see in here, I've shared with you some inflection points on the graph here to say, right, at this point, you grow at 20%, you have an inflection point. You continue at 20% growth, you have an inflection point. So there's an interesting book also written about here, the $1 Billion Blueprint. And in the book, they also talk about inflection points. So what are those points in your business plan, in your scaling up process, where you're going to get that bump? And our world was every time when we change the business model from a people side and we have a new recipe, or we build software, we got a new client or a new territory. So we design it for that so that we can have an inflection point to do the scaling. Then lastly, our big part for this has been something you can see in SpaceX. So this is one of our fundamental principles that we use to scale our companies and our group of businesses. And if you think about SpaceX, what have they solved of first principles? The biggest cost of a rocket going to space is to leave Earth. And that has always been the biggest cost. So in our world, for us, the biggest cost of starting a company is always the rocket or getting up into space. So we've started in our scaling of our companies, utilizing our big business to launch new businesses in space. So that has been our rocket. So we've really made sure that is solid. And that goes to the last point there. So I'm saying, although some of your new business might grow well, never compromise your proper foundation dam. That always must be solid. Because if that goes empty and your smaller dams sucks all the water out of it, your rocket is still not going to fly. The second point that we use is something called reusable logic. We always ask the question, what if we built already that we can reuse? And there's various ways of how you can think about that in your world, but this has been one of our scalable parts in our business to say, right, let's don't reinvent the wheel, let's make it smarter. But we found an interesting way how to do that. And then the last part is really the complementary side for us, how we bring these businesses together on that world. So this is just my way of just sharing with you. So the ultimate question to you is, how did you impact? And for me, it's about scaling businesses, but it's actually about scaling people. So for me, that has been the most important part in this. So Lo, that's my story. So you guys are welcome to ask me questions. So just a few points there.
Hey, Lo here, one of the founders of Outsource CFO. If you enjoyed this video, make it official. Click subscribe.